Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lisa Natoli, and I am so happy to be here with Dr. Rick Hanson. And we're going to be on for about 20 minutes today. And I am a Course in Miracles teacher. I'm the founder of The Healing Cure. And I cannot express my gratitude and excitement to be here with Rick Hanson. We are doing this Facebook Live to really kick off a 3-day New Beginning World Conference, which takes place May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And Dr. Rick Hanson is a keynote presenter there. And I never heard of this guy before from 2 weeks ago. And so my husband, Bill Free, he is the founder of this Pure Presence Productions, which is putting on this world conference. And he said to me, I've invited this teacher. His name is Rick Hanson. He's got this amazing TED Talk. So I immediately went, watched the TED Talk, was blown away. And that led me to Google about who is this guy. And I found an interview with Marie Forleo. And I just love your down-to-earth approach, and that led me to buy all of your books. And I just want to tell you about Rick Hanson. He is a neuropsychologist. He is an author of many books. He is a meditation teacher, and he is also the founder of the Wellspring Institute for Neuroscience and Contemplative Wisdom. And one of the things that I love about your work, Rick, and your writings is the science element. So he has a brand new book that's coming out. It's already out. It came out about 2 weeks ago, called Neuro Dharma. I was hoping it would be here by now, but Amazon tells me it'll be here tomorrow. But
I'll show you the cover. It's kind of cool.
Fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's got the picture of the mountain on it. You know, maybe we're here, but what is up here? What is going on in the brain of a Buddha or the brain of ourselves when we're, really, really experiencing deep inner peace, inner strength, love, and happiness? What's going on, right? What's happening in the body while all that is happening in the mind, right? And then how can we use that in practical ways? So I'm really happy with the cover, partly because I like mountain climbing. I like being in wilderness. I've done a lot of rock climbing, so I'm happy with that book.
I love that cover.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's what I want to have you talk about today. Like I bought your other, this is all I've been doing for the last 2 weeks.
You need to get a life, Lisa. There's more.
I like your number one fan. And again, what I love about your work is many people watching on this particular Facebook page are Course in Miracles teachers and students.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love always is the science element. So everything that I've read in these 3 books points to that happiness is a decision. And you talk a lot. I love what you just said about that cover. Is the chemicals that happen in the body. So before I turn it over to you, I just want to tell people what your session title is. It is taking place on Saturday, May 23rd at 4:30 p.m. It's a 90-minute live interactive session with Dr. Rick Hanson. And it's called Finding Calm and Contentment in Turbulent Times. The deepest roots of the highest happiness are in the living body. At the intersection of modern science and ancient wisdom, which could be called Neuro Dharma, we can find effective tools for resilient well-being. Join Dr. Rick Hanson for a practical and experiential exploration of brain-savvy ways to grow lasting happiness and inner peace. So welcome.
A good summary.
Yeah, so I would love for you just in the time that we're together, just to give us some of these tools that you speak so much about. For many people, especially now, they're just in a place of confusion or chaos. I mean, people have lost their jobs, economic insecurity, uncertainty. So where do you begin to reach that place of calm and happiness and contentment?
Well, to work backwards, the crazier the world is around us, the harder it is landing on us, the less the world is helping. In other words, the current moment, the more important it is to grow strengths inside, to develop inner resources of various kinds, such as, let's use calm strength, that feeling of calm strength. I've experienced it in really crazy situations when people in my family were getting sick and dying. I've experienced that kind of calm strength when I've been in wilderness and the storm is coming. We've all experienced that sense of calm strength. How do we grow calm strength? From the standpoint of the brain, we grow calm strength based on actually lasting changes inside the brain that are the basis of calm strength. So one really useful thing to do is to engage what's called positive neuroplasticity. That's a mouthful. Plasticity just means that things can change, including the nervous system. So we have neuroplasticity. Positive neuroplasticity means simply changing it for the better. And that change happens in 2 steps. So if people want to take charge of the brain change process from the inside out, I'm telling you how to do it, based on lots and lots of science. The first step, we must experience what we want to grow. So if you want to develop traits of calm, you must begin with states of calm, traits and states. So whatever it might be, you might deliberately help yourself calm down a little bit. You might take a long breath with a long exhalation. You might notice that you already have that sense of kind of grit and strength inside yourself already. You start with the experience. The song is playing in the inner iPod, but that's not enough. Experiencing does not equal learning. Most of our beneficial experiences wash through the brain like water through a sieve, while negative experiences of worry, helplessness, frustrated outrage, those kind of experiences sink in deep. So the second step is really, really, really important, in that if we, in the famous saying, neurons that fire together wire together, if we stay with the experience for a breath or a minute or longer, if we keep those neurons firing together, we just keep staying calm. We just meditate on feeling calm. We meditate on that feeling of strength. If we feel it in the body, if we also focus on what feels good about it, so we're extending the duration of the experience, we're increasing the embodied sense of the experience, and we're heightening the felt sense of reward of the experience, which increases activity of dopamine and norepinephrine inside the brain. All that increases the conversion from state to trait, helps us be actually changed for the better by the experience we're having, so that we develop greater trait calm and trait inner strength. Any single time we do this, there will be a mild increase in terms of acquiring a quality inside ourselves, but with repetition, several times a day, slowing down for a breath or 2 or 3, to marinate in the feeling of calm strength, to let it really land and sink in, to receive it into yourself. Multiple times a day will gradually help you go to bed feeling a little calmer and a little stronger than when you woke up. And then day after day, week after week, you will gradually acquire traits of greater calm strength, which then, of course, really helps us be resilient. The takeaway point is that no one can stop us from growing and learning every day, and no one can do it for us. So the fact that we're responsible means that we will earn the fruits of our practice.
I love that. And I love how practical that is. One of the things that I really loved in your book was this idea, and you're just going to have to remind me of some of the terms, but you talk about some of the different immune systems, and you talk about what happens when you take a very deep breath in, deeper than normal, and then a very deep breath out, and that you're activating these 2 different systems. And I just did it while I was reading it, and it was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, just to come into this presence. What were the 2?
Oh yeah, you're exactly right. So in our nervous system are these 2 aspects of the autonomic nervous system,
Yeah.
the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is involved with excitement and enthusiasm in positive ways. It's also involved with fighting and fleeing as a stress response. And we live in a time, in a culture that is jacking up our sympathetic nervous system a lot of the time, which gradually creates wear and tear on our physical health. It lowers our mood to experience that kind of stress chronically, and can even take months, if not years, off our lifespan. Not good. The natural balance for the sympathetic branch of the nervous system, like a seesaw, is the parasympathetic branch, which is engaged when we are exhaling. It slows the heart rate, and scientists call it the rest and digest aspect of the nervous system compared to the fight or flight aspect. What that simply means is that if we deliberately take a breath in which the exhalation is longer than the inhalation, we speed up the heart rate as we inhale, it slows down as we exhale. That natural rhythm we can use in skillful ways to help ourselves be a little calmer with even a single breath. And that, for me, is one of my favorite little things to do. I also think it's very useful to get in touch with the feeling inside, maybe like a memory of when you were determined. Because these days, it's really important to tune into that feeling of endurance and determination. I am going to get through this. I'm going to bring my friends and my family and hopefully my country with me. We are going to get through this. We will get to the other side of this. And probably a couple of years medically and economically as well, with some progress along the way, hopefully, right? We will get through this. That feeling of I can endure, I can get through something is a really important strength to grow inside by 2 steps: focusing on experiences of it and then helping them sink in, moving from states to traits again and again.
I love that, because the theme of this 3-day conference is the new beginning.
That's great.
And
yeah.
so many people, if you just are on social media or you're just kind of getting a general sense of what people are saying, is like it's gloom and doom and this is bad and everybody's got an opinion about it. But to come from this perspective of taking back that power, like taking back that strength and calm and endurance and responsibility, and to say, okay, I'm not weak, I'm not powerless. There are things that I can do.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about sort of your thoughts of what a new beginning looks like?
Well, I think of, 2 proverbs. First proverb is that if you take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves. And another proverb, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And the thing about proverbs that last is they sound so obvious, and yet they're also deeply profound and true, and so easy to forget. So for me, every day is a new beginning. Every breath is a new beginning. That relates in part to my own training in terms of contemplative meditative practice in the teachings of the Buddha, which emphasized a recognition of impermanence and the practical wisdom that comes when you really recognize how impermanent things are. It helps you cling less to them, but it also focuses you, in my own work on positive neuroplasticity, to really help what's beneficial in this current moment of experience to sink in, right? To not waste it on your brain, to kind of lean into the good, not out of clinging to it, but to help it sink in. So for me, that's the kind of new beginning that's continuously available to us. And I think one of the lessons of this time is that as long as the music was playing and the sun was shining, we were propped up, in a sense, by our activities and interactions and the experiences we had. All right. But when a storm comes, as it has now upon us, and the music can't be playing, and we're no longer propped up, we are left with what we have grown inside. And for some, it looks like an empty cupboard in there. And there's a big takeaway here. I think there's a big lesson about the need to really invest in ourselves, invest in our growth, such as you teach people to do through A Course in Miracles, which is one of the most profound books I've ever read. Also, I think there's a lesson that we need to invest in the common good. And when you're not investing in the common good through things like public health and science, you can get away with it for a while, but sooner or later, a storm comes. And if you have not made those investments in cooperation and community and the common good, your country is in big trouble, as America is right now. So to me, the lessons are clear from all that. In terms of a new beginning going forward, investing more in ourselves as individuals, in developing psychological strengths, inner resources of various kinds, and also investing more in the common good for both this storm and the one that will inevitably come again down the road.
I just love that. And, to me, that's the excitement I always feel as a teacher, I guess, is that I'm not waiting for the government or the world to tell me my life begins. Like, I think that's what a lot of people have been doing. Like, they put themselves on hold. And, what you're teaching is to really use this moment. I love what you just said, is that what was the first one you said? The days.
We take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves.
Exactly. And so, like, these books that I've read so far, and just the interviews I've seen you do, that we can hardwire happiness.
Yeah,
New
that's
brain
right.
science of contentment, calm, and confidence. And then I love what it says here on the cover. It says, see through the lies your brain tells you. So it's not like see through the lies that the world is telling you. It says, why is it easier to ruminate over hurt feelings than it is to bask in the warmth of feeling loved? Your brain is wired in such a way when it evolved, primed to learn quickly from bad experiences, but not so much from the good ones. And as I was reading these books, I love how you talk a lot about the evolution, like that we're hardwired to fight and flight.
Yeah.
Like that's what the neurons have been firing.
Yeah.
And so for me now to become present in awareness of like, oh, that's just what's been going on. And then I get so excited when I hear all the chemical stuff. Like in the Buddha's brain, you mention all the different chemicals, the serotonin, the dopamine, to actually see that we have the power to notice how we're feeling, to notice what we're thinking, to realize this is setting off a cascade of emotions.
Yeah.
And then to actually go, okay, that's enough of that.
Well, you really understand it. So a couple of headlines I want to name that are implicit in what you said. First headline is that what you and I are talking about is good old-fashioned self-reliance. The recognition that, yes, we should try to help the world be better, and yes, the world should help us more. Fine. What are we going to do meanwhile? Meanwhile, we can take that little step every day. We can take that minute by minute each day in the middle of our messed up situation to grow a little, heal a little, get a little stronger, get a little wiser, get a little more loving, get a little happier every day. That's self-reliance. And I think that was great. I laugh. I think of myself a little bit like a cockroach. I joke, I believe in the cockroach theory of life. Keep crawling, keep going, keep trying, right? So self-reliance. Second, particularly for the people I think who are especially interested in what you teach, Lisa, and what these programs are about through Bill. On the one hand, I'm someone who has a feeling of and a belief in the divine, the transcendental, the ultimate. On the other hand, I work mostly inside a secular or scientific framework, and I'm comfortable moving back and forth between them. And I'm not trying to be dogmatic or argumentative about either one of those, okay? So still, as someone who has a spiritual sense myself, other than whatever is involved with the ultimate mystery of the transcendental, when we are happy or we are sad, we are worried or we feel confident, that is based on underlying physical processes in our bodies. Now, our experiences do not just reduce to some kind of mechanical clockwork machinery. Our experiences have power of their own. They enlist underlying neural activity to proceed, okay? But it doesn't mean that they're just a bunch of blobby chemicals. So both of them go together. And for me, it's respectful of this extraordinary universe that bubbled into being nearly 14 billion years ago. It's respectful of all those who have come before us, our parents and parents, 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 going back millions of years eventually. It's respectful of that. It brings us into gratitude and awe and responsibility to start using what we are learning about how the brain is making the mind, and to deliberately use our mind to change our brains, to change our minds for the better, for the sake of others as well as ourselves.
Yeah, that was one part I really liked also too, because the Course in Miracles talks about the mind. It actually doesn't talk about the brain.
Yeah.
And
right.
A Course in Miracles also, I had a lot of blocks for years because one of the main teachings is there is no world and the body isn't real. At no single instant does the body exist at all. So now in ultimate reality, that's the truth. But we find ourselves here. So for me, I always love the science merged with the spirituality, where it's the practical down to earth. That's what I love about, all the times I've heard you speak is just being mindful of like this integration between the body and the spirit, and not just using spiritual concepts. Like one of the things a lot do will say, oh, there's no world, I need do nothing. And you disconnected from the listening, where it's like there may be an action to be taken in that moment. And so I absolutely love that you described so simply how the mind and the brain. I was curious to see how you would do it, and I loved it because
if I could offer this, so as people are listening or watching right now, they have bodies. You have a body, I have a body, right? Much as I look over your shoulder, I see plants, beautiful plants, trees, a garden behind you. So as people are listening right now, there are about 85 billion neurons inside their head, amidst another 100 billion or so other support cells. Sounds like a lot. It is. Each one of those neurons, or on average, neurons make several thousand connections with each other at little tiny junctions called synapses. This means that there's a huge network inside our own head with several 100 trillion little microprocessors in it. Each one of those little synapses is like a little transistor, in a sense, a little microprocessor. And moment by moment by moment, as we are hearing and seeing and thinking and remembering and wanting and happy or sad, that is based upon underlying activity of those sparkling little, synapses. It is said that the brain is like an enchanted loom. I love that metaphor, continually weaving the fabric of consciousness. All that is real. The brain is only about 2 to 3% of the body weight, but it uses a 20-25% of the supplies in our blood because it's so busy. And so here's my takeaway point. I find it, I guess, strange, Lisa, that people who routinely want to be skillful externally directed. So for example, I look at the plants of the garden over your shoulder. People have been skillful about those plants. They recognize the nature of the plants. They recognize whether they need water or no water, how to choose them, how to pull the weeds, how to plant the flowers. They do that routinely. They realize, there's a real world out there in some sense, and I'm going to take skillful action in it. And yet they balk, they stop at the idea of taking skillful action inside their own being, sometimes drawing upon what we're learning about our underlying biology. the hormones, the chemicals, the neurotransmitters, all the things you're talking about. And I think that's foolish. Why not use what we know? If someone could tell you how to be a better gardener, let's say, to help a plant do better and have more flowers, you would be interested in that. And you would, put the fertilizer on it, or you would get the bugs off it. You would do that. Well, in much the same way, we now increasingly understand how to help ourselves from the inside out at the level of the body to build these qualities of love and happiness, resilience, and wisdom inside ourselves. Why not use that information? Let's not turn away from it.
I love that, because that means everyone can begin today. Like, instead of waiting for the economy to turn back on, instead of waiting for something to happen later in the future, we say, okay, there's something I can do today, which is to start changing the way I'm thinking and feeling and noticing what I'm doing.
I know, and one of the most useful applications of this is to identify what would be especially useful to grow inside ourselves as a psychological resource, as an inner strength. What might be really helpful to deal with current challenges, or to heal old wounds, or to fill kind of a hole inside your heart. And people watching right now might ask themselves, wow, what does my heart long for? What would I like to feel more? What would I like to shift in my mood, or my attitude, or my sense of what I can ask for from other people? How would I like to become more skillful, maybe more patient? What would I really like to grow specifically inside myself these days? Maybe I'm home with my children all day long while still trying to make a living, and I'm getting frustrated and impatient and irritated. So maybe I would like to grow more patience or more compassion for the fact that my kids are frustrated and irritated too. All right, how could I grow more patience or more compassion? It's the two-step process. Get those neurons firing together and help them wire together. State to trait. So start with experiences, let's say, of patience or compassion. Look for them when you're having them already, or deliberately, encourage them inside. Take a few moments to encourage whatever you want to feel inside, and then slow it down. Stay with the experience. Marinate in it like you're a sponge. It's sinking into you. You're receiving it into yourself. You are helping yourself become more this way. And any little time you do it, it's just a little time. But if you take care of those minutes, you will gradually grow those qualities inside yourself. So I find that also very specifically helpful to identify the key resource, the particular thing that you want to grow inside yourself these days.
Yeah, I love how specific it is also with results. Like I find that as a spiritual teacher for years, it was a lot of concepts, and then I was like, you know what? I would like results.
Yeah.
And I sometimes call myself a pretend scientist, because I use my own life as a science experimentation lab for these ideas. And I've seen that they work. And so to actually have somebody who's rooted in the science like you actually say, okay, what would you like? Choose something specific, something you would like to heal. Like I know that you have this heal formula, HEL, and it's like taking people from where they think they are through a very practical, down to earth, simple step-by-step process, so that everyone can see, oh, this actually works.
Oh, yeah. I'll speak about myself very kind of briefly. So I grew up in an ordinary family, kind of lower middle class, Southern California. And, I did not have a terrible life or anything. But first, my parents were loving and decent, while also they were not very good at empathy. They, for different reasons, they both grew up in the Depression. They had hard lives themselves. And so I lacked the feeling of actually being seen or understood by my parents. And then going through school, I skipped a grade. I have a late birthday. And so I was extremely young going through school. I entered college when I was 16, stuff like that. And so because I'm shy and kind of dorky. I felt really, outside of it all, that nobody wanted me, nobody saw me, and I did not feel wanted or valued. It was like there was a huge hole in my heart. And we're very social. We naturally, even if you're kind of a stubborn introvert like I am, still, we need to feel included, like we're part of the group, that people like us, they actually see us, they want us, right? I did not feel much of that. So what I started to do when I finally made it to college and I was a young adult, I began deliberately taking in the good, almost every day for what my heart longed for, to the normal, natural, healthy, authentic experiences of being included, seen, appreciated, liked, or even loved. And when I could see the fact of that, not fake it till you make it, actually see the fact that a girl would smile at me in the elevator, or a roommate would say, hey, let's go get some pizza. I would see the fact, and then I would help myself feel it. And then I would really receive it into myself, what I deeply, deeply longed for. This is an example of growing of taking particular action or focusing on specific experiences that are the psychological nutrients that we really need, the vitamin C that we really, really need to heal our scurvy, let's say, over time. And a person can do that. And when you can do that every day, when you can bring in a little bit, at least every day, of what has felt missing inside you, and that you want to fill yourself up from the inside out about, it gives your day purpose, and it gives it hope, and it really means that gradually you truly can heal yourself. And there is a lot of evidence these days that as your mind changes, as your experiences change, your brain changes as well. And more, even though neuroscience is a baby science, new discoveries are being made every week, there is a lot of evidence, tremendous evidence, that practices that we do, especially if we repeat them and reinforce them, really do leave and produce physical changes inside our own brains.
I'm so happy that you brought in taking in the good, because it was one of my favorite practices that I read. And it's so simple, but when I read it, I was like, oh wow, that's one that I think escapes a lot of people, because the mind is so focused on whatever, I'm bored, or I'm this, or I'm that.
Chasing the next shiny object. Yeah.
And so to take in the good, like this morning, I went for the first time in 2 months to the drive-through to get a Starbucks. I downloaded the Starbucks app. I figured out how to put money on the app. I ordered my coffee online, and I went to the drive-through, and I was like, wow, how exciting, our coffee from Starbucks, and I sat in my car. I pulled the car over, and I sat in my car for, I don't know, 45 minutes, enjoying the moment. Like how I was like, wow, I used to take this for granted.
That's really great.
I know. And so I want to thank you with all my heart for the work.
Do you mind if I just say two very fast things just about that? One is, you're speaking to this very poignant, sad thing that people often chase the next shiny object experience. We chase the next experience, and we don't enjoy the current one. Even when we work hard to experience something useful, we tend to race past it, and we miss it. We don't let it in. And all it takes is 5, 10, 20 seconds in a row. If you want to take 45 minutes with your coffee, that's great. But just 10, 20 seconds is going to help those neurons wire together. And the other thing to really underline is that, yes, sometimes what we take in are these moments of gratitude or pleasure from having our Starbucks. We also take in strength, grit, determination, good intentions, self-restraint, patience. These are also things we take in. It isn't always, something that feels super duper. There's a place for that. Smell the roses, sure. But a lot of what we want to grow is based on experiences that are more neutral or more fundamental, let's say. Great.
I love that. I'm so excited for your 90-minute talk at the New World Conference. And I just thank you for giving us your time, for being here, for all the work that you've done in the world, for everyone watching. your website is rickhanson.net,
Yeah,
correct?
that's
So
right.
for those of you watching the video, we'll post it in the description here. You can also see Rick Hanson's name here and the spelling, rickhanson.net. You have a brand new course that I also signed up for this morning, Neuro Dharma, and which goes with your new book that was just published. Congratulations.
Well, thank you
And
for
those
that.
of
Yeah.
you watching, you can go to purepresenceproductions.com and you will see all the details. There's over 30 teachers in science, Course in Miracles, non-duality, spirituality. There's musicians. The entire thing is completely live, completely interactive, and it's a great opportunity. Rick Hanson is one of the keynote presenters. He's 90 minutes on Saturday, May 23rd, I'm sorry, at 4:30 to 6 o'clock. And it's just a great opportunity to ask questions, to interact, to really just come into this new beginning. So
Thank you. Bows to
all
you.
my
Blessings
heart.
to everyone.
I'll be there in your class on Saturday,
That's
and I look
good.
forward to what you have to share.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, it'll be very practical, experiential, how to use it immediately. So thank you, Lisa. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure to be with you.